This is literally how you would structure a document if you were trying to fake it. Edit the content, but keep the official stamps separate so they still look legitimate.
Why is this the case, and why can't Mike simply address this situation? Coach Greg, in today's video, shocking new evidence in the Israetel files. Mike Israetel got caught editing his PhD, The Smoking Gun. If you want to see the full video by Kirk Fitness, you can go and check him out. We're going to be going over some of the highlights, the new information that doesn't make things look very good for Mike. When you watch all of the evidence, I'm simply going to present it to you. I think you're all going to come to the same conclusion as me. If Mike were actually innocent, I think he would have nothing to hide. He would simply go over the video, start to finish, release everything, date here, date there, totally documented, not forged, no tampering, and say, this is the proof. And so why did it take so many days to send the eventual edited final draft?
When you look at the document properties of this corrected version, the owner is listed as pipix.contenido@gmail.com, which turns out to be a digital marketing agency.
Why does a digital marketing agency have Mike Israetel's final thesis? Like, how is that even possible that the digital company got his plan before anyone else? I mean, if Mike had the copy, Mike had the evidence, why didn't he just say so? Here's my final paper. Post it yourself, rather than having some digital agency that you would have hired to go and fix the problem.
Specifically, a guy named Brian Ivan Cromer Jimenez from Argentina who does social media content creation.
And are you trying to convince me that there's no possible way that he tampered it at all? Milo Wolf is saying, well, this is not how it works. It automatically shows the date October 3rd. That doesn't mean we made any changes. But isn't at this point on the onus of Mike to prove he's innocent than the other way around? Solomon did his job. The paper that was presented, he critiqued it. If Mike's defense is that was the wrong paper, he has to show proof that it's wrong. And based on the dates, the inconsistencies, the time paradox, none of this makes any sense.
Why the fuck would Mike's PhD thesis from 2013 be owned and edited by his current marketing team?
Owned and edited by his marketing team. I mean, wouldn't you think that Mike would own it, or perhaps the university? Why the marketing team?
If this was really just Mike uploading the original final version he submitted to the university, the document owner would be Mike, or it would be the university. It wouldn't be his marketing guy from Argentina.
And so if he owns the document, if he owns the editing, how is it possible that he did no editing? How did he get that? Why isn't it Mike's? Why isn't it the university? How is it possible that this is the case?
The only reason a marketing agency would be the owner of this document is if they created or edited it recently. That's how document ownership works.
And so you have to ask yourself, like, without being biased, without being pro-Mike or anti-Mike, just being neutral, and having heard this information, what do you believe? I mean, if it was Judge Judy, what would she be thinking? An honest person doesn't have to think a lot. They don't have to analyze what they're going to say. They don't have to read from a script. When you're innocent, you're innocent. Ask me anything. I'm all ears. Why is this the case, and why can't Mike simply address this situation? Hi, it's Dr. Mike here, and this is exactly what happened in 2013. Start to finish. If he was innocent, I believe it would be immensely simple for him to prove it. But if he's guilty, you kind of got to go through the back alleys. You got to sneak yourself around until they forget.
The PDF Milo released isn't one continuous document. Pages 1 to 200 are an export from Microsoft Word. You can copy and paste text from these pages.
Why are two things added in the end? The paper and the university information, the documents. Is it possible? I'm just asking you that you write the paper over here, perhaps 10 years after the fact, and then you add some university documents to it, and you say, here's the paper. What's to stop someone from doing that? And so how do we know that this isn't true?
Pages 201 to 223, which conveniently contain all the university stamps and official signatures, are optical scans.
Like, do you all understand that? I am horrendous at technology, and so I admit this is not my forte, but I understand that there would be one file. Like, if your original thesis in 2013, if it was done, it was like a book, a paper, it's done, one file, you bring the file over here. How is it one file over here and another file over there when it's supposed to be a singular composition from 2013?
This is literally how you would structure a document if you were trying to fake it. Edit the content, but keep the official stamps separate so they still look legitimate.
And so he's saying, look, they just did it in public. There's no way that they can come back on this. They did it publicly. You can see it. They've got it documented. They can forge. And that seems like a very plausible explanation. Does that not explain exactly what's happened? And so when Milo Wolf is going to say, oh, careful, it's illegal to say anything, it's not against the law, nor should it ever be, to pose questions about someone else's work, to question the legalities of it, to question the methods, to question everything. And if we're not left to question, if we are not allowed to even look, hey, I got a PhD, you have no right to look into my PhD, how can we trust anything?
The corrected version Milo released is dated March 2013. The version Solomon reviewed, the one with all the errors, is dated August 2013.
And so, in case that doesn't make sense to you, which it shouldn't, Solomon reviewed a draft of August. Mike is saying, that was my first draft. The first one I ever drew, I perhaps did it in an hour. I was too busy to pay attention to anything, and I just got it to get it over with. That was in August. And so why is the final draft done in March, 5 months prior? Do you see the time paradox that's going on here? How is it that the final draft was done 5 months after the first draft? I mean, you explain it. Did Mike, for example, go to pass in his final draft and selected the first draft by accident, looked at it and said, well, that's funny. How come it says March? It should be August. And so he says, I guess perhaps my pet dog or my rat or someone logged into my computer and changed the date. And so I'm now going to change it back. And so he types in, he goes from it saying March to August. And so he changes everything. And so the first draft now is at the final draft. Would it not make more sense to be thinking, you know what, it's probably the wrong file. I'm going to submit my life's work to the university in order to pass my thesis, in order to graduate. I'm going to make sure that I didn't pass in my first draft. The odds of this, I mean, it's got to be 1 in a million.
You don't submit a decent thesis in March and then somehow make it worse by August. That's not how writing works. That's not how anything works.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. I'm thinking if Mike was busy, he didn't want to do the paper, perhaps he paid a first-year student, said, hey, could you write my thesis for me? I'm kind of busy, trying to pick up the HUDs. And they submit him a paper. He doesn't look it over, passes it in, and they're like, bro, do you see all these spelling mistakes? And then he says, wow, you're right. He scraps the entire document and starts over from scratch. Is that what happened? I mean, that doesn't make sense either. And so the dating, it absolutely is illogical. It doesn't make sense that a better version was done in the past than in the present.
They edited the thesis recently to fix the errors, but they backdated it before the August version to make it look like, oh, this was always the real version. Solomon just somehow got an old draft.
It looks more like they're tampering, that they're trying to pull a fast one over Solomon and the world, than it does that they're just being honest. If they were in fact being honest, why all the secrecy? Why is it Milo Wolf doing all the work? And why is Mike not addressing the problem? You know, when things begin to go wrong, there's 2 types of ways you can deal with it. Method 1 is you run away, you hide, you scour, you avoid answering the questions. The second way is you attack it head on. Mike is in hiding. He's letting other people do damage control, and we aren't buying it.
Right after Solomon's video dropped, Mike restricted access to the original version on ProQuest and the university website.
Why would Mike block this? Why would he block you from reading it? If he has nothing to hide, this is my first draft, this is my final draft, there's the proof. You can now see I really did a shitty job on the first draft. I perhaps did that without a proper tan, and it just didn't come out the way I wanted it. Second paper, I was tanning, I was on melanotan, and look at the difference.
The best part is watching Mike's defenders try to explain this away in the Reddit threads. They're coming up with increasingly desperate theories.
Now, some of you probably are thinking, I'm on Mike's side because I could see this happening. He probably just wrote the wrong date. He probably did a shitty first draft with all those mistakes, but it's his first draft. And the reason you're siding with Mike is because you probably have of an average IQ. You're not dumb. I'm not saying you're stupid. You're not a moron. You're just normal. You're average. You're what most people are. Mike is a super genius. He's been tested multiple times. His IQ coming off the charts. Max was 160. He keeps scoring higher.
So you get every single question right. And so my IQ is above 160. We don't know how high because they don't do standardized IQ tests above that.
You don't have the intellect of a superior god such as Mike.
I'm smarter than you and I'm better at being a than you.
For us mere mortals, we could make mistakes. But Mike, he's so smart. He's bigger and stronger than Mike Menser. In 1 year, he can do whatever you do best in this world better than you.
And whatever it is you think you're good at in your life, I'd probably take about a year and become an authority in the field in which you think you're good.
How is it possible that in 8 years of study, during his thesis, he would make this many errors? It is not possible for a super genius intellectual to do a paper, even a first draft, this bad. This would be something he would have done in first year university. You cannot convince me that any super genius would embarrass themselves enough to submit this as a first draft.
Mike panicked. His team said, we need to do damage control. So they took the original thesis, ran it through spell check, fixed the obvious errors, and released it as the real version.
And so under panic, all these changes were made. The smarter people that are looking at the metadata are like, this isn't okay. You goofed here. It would have been way better to just simply admit your mistake and move on. Why try to hide it? When you try to cover it up, it makes it look so much worse.
And the fitness industry will probably let him get away with it because he's profitable and people like his personality. And nobody actually cares about academic integrity as long as the apps make money.
And of course, the fitness industry is going to let him get away with it. This is the part I don't understand. Mike could have just said, yeah, my draft sucks. I don't know how I passed. Fuck it. A gay joke here. We're done. It's literally all he had to do. Yep, it's embarrassing. I don't know how I passed. I wouldn't pass me now. I was gifted. He got the PhD. Whether or not the PhD thesis sucked or not, it's really irrelevant because he still got the PhD. What do you think? This is the first PhD thesis that was ever at a subpar level that was passed? Really? You think that's the case? And so be sure to get your Seco bars, code Seco for 50% off. It's only $20, 21 protein, 230 calories, soft, delicious, amazing. And of course, don't forget to pick up GO2 Max, as well as Turk Builder Max for all of your fitness and bodybuilding needs. Code Greg, 15% off.
Next time on Coach Greg.
Mike Israetel admits that the first draft that was examined by Solomon that all of us had talked about was actually the final draft after all. Milo Wolf was saying, Solomon needs to take his video down. Bad person. He's going to get sued. Do you not remember all those comments? What do you think about that now?